Welcome to English Easy Story. Here, we bring captivating stories to help you improve your English, one story at a time. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on new adventures and learning moments with us. How to speak English with tips and stories. Welcome to English Easy Story. Today, I want to talk to you about how to speak English with confidence. A lot of people can understand English when they read it or hear it, but speaking it feels like a big challenge. You might feel nervous, unsure, or even afraid of making mistakes. This is totally normal. Speaking a new language takes time, practice, and patience. In this conversation, I will share some useful tips and stories of people just like you, who struggled to speak English but improved over time. By the end of this discussion, I hope you will feel more motivated to start practicing and speaking English confidently. The story of John, from nervous to confident. Let me begin with a story about my friend John. John moved to New Zealand for his new job. English was the main language spoken there, and John realized that he needed to improve his speaking skills to communicate with his colleagues. He had studied English in school, but like many people, he didn't get much practice speaking it. So, when he arrived in New Zealand, he felt very nervous. John could understand most of what people said, but when it was his turn to speak, he froze. He couldn't find the right words, and this made him feel embarrassed. He started to avoid conversations altogether because he didn't want to make mistakes. But deep down, John knew that if he wanted to succeed in his new job and make friends, he had to improve his English. One day, John decided to take action. He came up with a simple plan. He would practice English every day, no matter how uncomfortable it felt. He started by talking to himself in the mirror. At first, it felt strange, but he knew it was important to hear his own voice in English. He would say basic sentences like, "Hello, my name is John," or "Today, I am going to the office." This helped him become more comfortable with speaking. After practicing in front of the mirror for a few days, John took things a step further. He started watching English TV shows and movies. He didn't just watch them passively, he paid close attention to how the actors spoke. He noticed their tone of voice, how they used facial expressions, and how they paused between sentences. John would repeat lines from the shows, trying to mimic the way the actors said them. If a character was excited, John tried to sound excited too. If a character was sad, John practiced speaking in a sad tone. Joining a conversation group, John knew that practicing alone wasn't enough. He needed to speak with other people, so he joined an English conversation group that met once a week in Auckland. This group was made up of people from different countries who were all learning English. When John first joined, he was very shy. He worried that he would make mistakes and that people might laugh at him. But to his surprise, the group was very friendly and supportive. Everyone there understood the challenges of learning a new language, and they encouraged each other. At first, John didn't say much. He mostly listened and practiced in his head. But after a few weeks, he started to feel more comfortable. He began to participate more in the conversations. He made mistakes, of course, but nobody laughed at him. Instead, they helped him correct his mistakes and encouraged him to keep speaking. Practicing with native speakers, John also made friends with some of his neighbors, who were native English speakers. He explained to them that he was trying to improve his English, and they were happy to help. They invited him over for tea, and they would have casual conversations about everyday topics like the weather, work, and weekend plans. These conversations were very helpful for John because they were relaxed and didn't feel like formal language lessons. He learned a lot of new words and phrases that people used in everyday life. For example, instead of saying, "How do you do?" like he had learned in school, he found out that people often say, "How's it going?" in casual conversations. After several months of practicing, John noticed a big improvement in his speaking skills. He no longer felt as nervous when he had to speak English at work. He still made some mistakes, but he didn't let that stop him. The most important thing was that he had become more confident. Lessons from John's story. From John's story, we can learn a few important lessons. First, it's important to start small. John didn't try to speak fluently from the beginning. He started by practicing simple sentences in front of the mirror, then moved on to repeating lines from TV shows, and finally joined a conversation group. Taking small steps helped him gain confidence over time. Second, practicing every day is key. Even if you only have time to practice for a few minutes, doing it regularly will help you make progress. And third, having a supportive environment makes a big difference. John's friends and conversation group helped him feel more comfortable speaking and gave him the encouragement he needed to keep going. The story of Maria, finding her voice at work. Now let's talk about another friend of mine, Maria. Maria moved to Canada for a new job. She was very good at reading and writing in English, but like many others, she struggled with speaking at work. She understood everything her colleagues said, but when it was her turn to speak, she felt nervous. Her heart would race, and sometimes she couldn't think of the right words to say. This made her feel frustrated because she knew what she wanted to say, but the words just wouldn't come out. Maria knew that if she wanted to succeed in her job, she had to improve her speaking skills. So she made a plan. The first thing she did was find a language partner. Maria's language partner was a native English speaker who wanted to learn Spanish, Maria's native language. They met twice a week, and during their meetings, they spent half the time speaking in English and the other half speaking in Spanish. This was a great way for Maria to practice speaking in a relaxed environment. Her partner helped her with pronunciation and corrected her mistakes in a kind and supportive way. Taking an online speaking course. Maria also decided to take an online speaking course. The course included many speaking exercises and activities that covered different topics like work, hobbies, and daily life. Each week, Maria had to record herself speaking about a specific topic and submit the recording for feedback. The feedback from her teachers was very helpful because it pointed out areas where she could improve, like her pronunciation or the way she structured her sentences. One of the most useful pieces of feedback Maria received was about using contractions. For example, instead of saying, "I am," her teacher suggested she say, "I'm," and instead of saying "do not," she should say, "don't." This helped her sound more natural when she spoke. The course also taught her how to adjust her tone depending on the situation. She learned when to use a formal tone, like in a meeting, and when to use a casual tone, like when talking to friends. Practicing at work in addition to the language partner and the online course, Maria made a habit of practicing English every day. Even outside of her lessons, she would talk to herself in the mirror, just like John did, and record her voice so she could listen to it and see where she could improve. She also made an effort to speak more with her colleagues at work. At first, she was very nervous, but over time she became more comfortable. Her colleagues were supportive and appreciated her efforts to speak English. They would help her with difficult words and encourage her when she struggled. As the weeks went by, Maria's speaking skills improved. She became more confident during meetings and was able to express her ideas clearly. Her colleagues noticed her progress and often praised her for her hard work. This recognition made Maria feel proud and motivated her to keep practicing. Lessons from Maria's story. Maria's story teaches us several valuable lessons. First, it's important to find a language partner or someone you can practice with regularly. Speaking with a partner gives you the chance to practice in a safe and supportive environment, which helps build your confidence. Second, taking a structured course can be very helpful. The feedback Maria received from her teachers helped her improve specific areas like pronunciation and sentence structure that she wouldn't have noticed on her own. Lastly, practicing in real-life situations, like at work, is crucial. Even though it can be nerve-wracking at first, the more you practice in real situations, the more comfortable you'll become. The story of David, overcoming the fear of speaking in public. David moved to Ireland to study for his degree. Like many students, he was good at reading and writing in English, but he found speaking to be the most difficult part. In class, David understood everything his professors said, but when it came time to participate in discussions or give presentations, he froze. His heart would race, his hands would sweat, and sometimes he even forgot what he wanted to say. This made him feel frustrated and upset because he knew the answers but just couldn't express them. David realized that if he wanted to do well in his studies and build good relationships with his classmates, he needed to improve his speaking skills. So he started small by practicing speaking in front of the mirror. Every morning, he would talk about his plans for the day, introduce himself, or practice asking questions. This daily routine helped David get used to hearing himself speak English, and slowly his confidence began to grow. Joining a study group. David knew that practicing alone wouldn't be enough. So he decided to join a study group with some of his classmates. They met once a week to review lessons, help each other with homework, and discuss class topics. At first, David was very quiet in the group. He mostly listened and didn't say much because he was afraid of making mistakes. But as the weeks went by, he started to feel more comfortable. The group members were supportive, and they encouraged him to speak more. The more David practiced, the more confident he became. He started to participate in discussions, and even helped his classmates with topics he was good at. The study group was a safe place for David to practice speaking English, and it helped him build his confidence little by little. Using fun activities to practice, David also found a way to practice his English outside of the classroom. He loved playing soccer, and the more David practiced, the more confident he became. He started to participate in discussions, and even helped his classmates with topics he was good at. The study group was a safe place for David to practice speaking English, and it helped him build his confidence little by little. Using fun activities to practice, David also found a fun way to practice his English outside of the classroom. He loved playing soccer, so he decided to join a local soccer team. This was a great opportunity for him to practice English in a relaxed, informal setting. Before and after games, he would chat with his teammates. These casual conversations helped David improve his speaking skills without feeling the pressure he felt in class. Since the conversations were about something he enjoyed, soccer, he didn't feel as nervous. Over time, he found that speaking English became more natural for him. He learned new words related to sports, but more importantly, he became more comfortable expressing himself in English. Learning from mistakes. One of the biggest challenges David faced was his fear of making mistakes. At first, he was afraid that if he made a mistake, people would judge him or laugh at him. But over time, he realized that everyone makes mistakes when learning a new language, and that's okay. Instead of being embarrassed, David started to view his mistakes as opportunities to learn. He also noticed that when he made a mistake, most people were understanding and helpful. His classmates and teammates would gently correct him, and this helped him improve. As David became more comfortable with making mistakes, his fear of speaking began to fade away. He focused more on communicating his ideas and less on being perfect. David's improvement. After several months of practicing, David noticed a huge improvement in his speaking skills. He no longer felt as nervous during class discussions, and he was able to give presentations without freezing up. His professors even complimented him on his progress. This gave David a sense of pride and motivated him to keep practicing and improving. Lessons from David's story. David's story teaches us that it's important to start small. He didn't try to speak fluently right away. He began by practicing in front of the mirror and slowly built up his confidence. Another important lesson is to find enjoyable ways to practice. David loved soccer, and practicing with his teammates helped him improve his speaking skills in a fun, low-pressure environment. Finally, David's experience shows us that making mistakes is a natural part of learning. Instead of fearing mistakes, we should see them as opportunities to improve. The more you speak, the better you'll get, even if you make mistakes along the way. The story of Alice, turning nervousness into confidence. Now let me tell you about Alice. Alice moved to Scotland to work in a tech company. She had always been good at reading and writing in English, but speaking was a different story. In her workplace, Alice understood everything her colleagues said, but when it was her turn to speak, she felt nervous. Her hands would shake, and sometimes she would forget what she wanted to say. This made her feel frustrated, especially during important meetings. Alice knew that she had to improve her speaking skills if she wanted to do well in her job and communicate effectively with her team. So she decided to take action. Finding a speaking buddy. Alice started by finding a language exchange partner. Her partner was a native English speaker who wanted to learn Portuguese, Alice's native language. They decided to meet twice a week and spend half the time speaking in English and half the time speaking in Portuguese. This arrangement was great for Alice because it gave her the chance to practice English in a relaxed, friendly environment. Her partner corrected her mistakes kindly, and this helped Alice improve her pronunciation and confidence. Taking the time to practice. Alice also made a habit of practicing English every day. She would talk to herself in the mirror, just like John and David did, and record her voice to listen to how she sounded. She practiced introducing herself, talking about her work, and even practiced giving presentations. By hearing her own voice, she was able to identify areas where she needed improvement and work on them. Reading aloud and watching shows. Alice loved to read, so she started reading English books aloud to herself. At first, she chose simple books, but as she became more confident, she moved on to more difficult ones. Reading aloud helped her improve her fluency and pronunciation. It also gave her the opportunity to practice speaking in a more formal way, which was helpful for her work. Presentations. In addition to reading, Alice watched her favorite TV shows and movies in English without subtitles. She would listen closely to how the actors spoke and try to mimic their tone and intonation. This helped her understand the natural flow of English and how to express emotions through speech. Gaining confidence at work. Over time, Alice noticed that her speaking skills were improving. She felt more comfortable during meetings and was able to express her ideas clearly without feeling nervous. Her colleagues even commented on how much her English had improved. This gave Alice the confidence she needed to keep practicing. She also started contributing more during team discussions and even led a few presentations at work. This was a big step for Alice, and she felt proud of her progress. Her boss praised her for her hard work, and this recognition motivated Alice to continue improving. Lessons from Alice's story. Alice's story shows us that practicing English doesn't have to be formal or stressful. You can find fun and enjoyable ways to improve, like reading aloud or watching your favorite shows in English. Her experience also highlights the importance of having a speaking buddy or language partner. Practicing with someone who is fluent in English can help you feel more comfortable and confident. Finally, Alice's story reminds us that progress takes time. She practiced every day, and over time, her hard work paid off. The key is to stay consistent and keep practicing, even when it feels challenging. What we can learn from these stories. Now that we've heard the stories of John, Maria, David, and Alice, let's summarize the key lessons we can take away from their experiences. 1. Start small. Each person started with small steps. They didn't try to become fluent overnight. Instead, they practiced simple sentences, joined conversation groups, or found a language partner to help them. Taking small steps makes the process less overwhelming and builds confidence over time. 2. Practice every day. Consistency is key when it comes to learning a new language. Practicing English every day, even if it's just for a few minutes, can make a big difference. Whether it's talking to yourself, reading aloud, or chatting with a friend, regular practice helps you improve. 3. Don't be afraid of mistakes. All of our friends made mistakes while learning English, but they didn't let that stop them. Instead of being embarrassed, they saw their mistakes as opportunities to learn. The more you speak, the better you'll get, and it's okay to make mistakes along the way. 4. Find a supportive environment. Having a supportive environment is crucial for building confidence. Whether it's through a conversation group, a language partner, or friends who speak English, surrounding yourself with people who encourage you will help you improve faster. 5. Use real-life situations. Practicing English in real-life situations, like at work, in a study group, or even while playing a sport, helps you apply what you've learned in a meaningful way. The more you practice in real situations, the more comfortable you'll become. 6. Have fun while learning. Learning a new language doesn't have to be stressful. Finding fun ways to practice, like watching movies, playing sports, or reading books you enjoy, will keep you motivated and make the process more enjoyable. 7. Patience is key. Learning to speak English fluently takes time and effort. Be patient with yourself and celebrate your small victories along the way. Progress may be slow at first, but with consistent practice, you will see improvement over time. Final tips on how you can improve your English speaking. Here are some final tips to help you on your journey to becoming a more confident English speaker. Talk to yourself. Practice speaking English by talking to yourself in the mirror. This helps you get used to hearing your own voice and builds your confidence. Watch movies and shows in English. Pay attention to how actors speak and try to copy their tone and expressions. This will help you improve your pronunciation and learn how to express emotions in English. Find a language partner. Having someone to practice with regularly, like a language exchange partner, can make a huge difference. It gives you the opportunity to practice in a friendly, supportive environment. Read aloud. Reading English books or articles aloud will help you improve your fluency and pronunciation. It's also a great way to learn new vocabulary. Join a conversation group. If there's a conversation group in your area or online, join it. Speaking with others who are also learning English can help build your confidence and give you the chance to practice in a relaxed, supportive environment. Use real-life situations. Practice speaking English in everyday situations like ordering food at a restaurant, asking for directions, or chatting with colleagues. The more you practice in real-life settings, the more comfortable you'll become. Don't worry about perfection. It's normal to make mistakes when learning a new language. Don't let the fear of making mistakes stop you from speaking. Remember that every time you practice, you are improving. Set small, achievable goals. Learning to speak a new language is a big task, so it's important to set small, realistic goals for yourself. For example, aim to learn one new phrase each day or speak with a friend in English once a week. These small goals will help you track your progress and stay motivated. Celebrate your progress. Every time you practice speaking English, you're taking a step toward fluency. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small it may seem. Over time, you'll see just how far you've come. Conclusion. Becoming a confident English speaker takes time, practice, and patience, but it is absolutely possible. Just like John, Maria, David, and Alice, you too can improve your speaking skills by practicing regularly, finding supportive people to help you, and not being afraid of making mistakes. Remember to start small, enjoy the process, and be patient with yourself. You have everything you need to succeed in learning English. Keep practicing, stay motivated, and most importantly, have fun along the way. You've got this. Thanks for watching. Don't forget like, share and subscribe English Easy Story YouTube channel.